And welcome everyone to Women's Speakers Association's WSA TV. I'm your host, Laura Rubenstein, here today with an episode about managing adversity. And so we have lots of things going on in our world where things aren't pretty, they're messy, they're challenging. And how do we deal with this? How do we go through this? What can we do? Is there hope? There is. I have two experts today, as you can see on the screen, Lois and Verenice, who are here to walk us through that, to really give us their deep dive advice, and then we'll get to know them. And I want to go ahead and say hello to them. Hi, Verenice.
Hi, Laura. I'm Verenice Gutierrez, and I am in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I am a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant.
Great to have you. And where can they find you online?
I have a website, and it is www.drverenicegutierrez.com. Unmute.
Oh, hi, Lois, and thank you.
Hi, Laura. Hi, Verenice. Hi, everybody. I'm Lois Wagner, based in Johannesburg, South Africa. You can find me on walkingwithoutskin.com or loiswagnercoaching.com. And I am a speaker, mentor, and coach.
Awesome. So thank you both for being here, because this is a time of adversity in general in the world. We're dealing with the coronavirus at the time. If you're watching the replay, we hope it's over. But in our personal lives, we know that adversity happens. It happens. It takes us by surprise. And there are things in our society that are not equitable or, really we don't even know sometimes what the issues are. So Vernice, I thought you could address first, what are the steps to managing adversity? Like, where do we start?
Well, when you're thinking about managing adversity, in the work that I do, I'm always addressing equity and access. And I'm often asked, what steps do I need to take to be more equitable and provide access? And the tough part is, I have to say there are no clear-cut steps. This is very messy work. It begins with a self-examination of your own personal biases, your belief systems. What do you value? What are you willing to change? What are you not willing to change? So in the work that I do, that's the first step to managing adversity, being aware.
Yeah, being aware. So it sounds like if you're not even aware there's a problem, it doesn't mean there's not adversity. It just means, you're so valuable because you bring awareness to things that are going on. Would you say that's accurate?
Absolutely. And that is typically how I enter a conversation. I will listen to a discussion and point out a multiple perspective that somebody might not have considered, or what we call a counter story. And so it is not very warm and fuzzy, and people do get upset. But unless and until we are willing to take a look at, those different perspectives or those different scenarios, then how are we going to be able to address the situation or the adversity at hand?
Can you give us like a little small snippet of a scenario?
Absolutely. So just recently, as a matter of fact, and 24 hours ago, I was working with our principals, and our district has been flagged for having a disproportionate number of African American males being labeled as emotionally disturbed. So the conversation that had to be had was, are we saying, as the educational leaders of this school district, that in our district, Black males are predisposed to be emotionally disturbed? Or have we created the conditions with our practice and our beliefs and our policies that have created this disproportionality?
And that's a really tough question. And
Absolutely.
but just bringing that awareness can bring up defensiveness. It can bring up, oh, wait a minute, awareness of like maybe their responsibility taking. So is there a tip that you might have when someone hears that I might be responsible and they hadn't considered it? How can they be more open to that?
Well, we've done quite a bit of equity work to uncover our own biases. We've done work so that gut reaction doesn't Are you calling me a racist? Are you accusing me? And it's been a lot of work that's been done to build that foundation. But as the practitioner, I have to be aware that that reaction can exist in the room. And then I have to be prepared to hold space for the person to say, tell me why this is coming up for you. I didn't call you a racist. I didn't say this is your fault. But what's coming up for you? And then how can we together move forward to address the issue, which is we can't continue to over-identify Black boys as emotionally disturbed.
Right. So this applies in all very touchy subjects, and that are systemic. You're talking about systemic problems and really facing them with a open and honest conversation and everyone taking responsibility. That's what I'm taking away.
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right. Well, Lois, let's talk about your take on adversity and how to manage it, because I know you've had a wealth of experiences that have made you an expert in your field. So tell us about what does managing adversity mean and how can we do that?
Well, I think it follows on nicely from what Verenice was saying, in that once that awareness has been created, it brings up all these negative emotions. Why do you say that? It could be anger, frustration, hatred, whatever emotion is brought up. So once that awareness is there, we have to consider accepting that, accepting the reality of that. So if you're angry or disappointed, whatever it is, it's real. It's real for you. And so that's where I start. I start with accepting that feeling, accepting that emotion, ignoring it and brushing it under the carpet. It's not going to help. We have to face the reality of what you are feeling at that moment.
But what if it feels too scary?
Well, that's what I work with. So I'll say we identify. The first thing is to identify that emotion that you are feeling, and then to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, and feel it. And you need to actually experience that emotion, regardless of what it is. Letting it go, hiding it, it's no solution. So you need to feel it, smell it, taste it, touch it, really get to experience it. And then we rate it on a scale, and then we slowly start saying, what emotion do we want to replace that emotion with? How do we want to do that? And then we use various techniques to bring that emotion down, the current negative emotion, and start looking for a positive emotion to replace it with.
Mm. So what I feel like you do is you provide that safe place to really feel that into that emotion because it almost guides you to the answer of, okay, what's underneath that emotion is a positive feeling that really wants to emerge, but there's this hurt and anger that's in the way until it gets its say.
And the timing of it differs for every person. Sometimes you can do it in a day. Sometimes you've got to live with some of those negative emotions for a week, a month, as long as you don't sit there too long that it becomes part of who you are. So we have to work with the various techniques to get you away from that negative space.
Right. Wow. So I love this combination of the two of you being able to take people from, hey, over here there's a problem. You don't even see it and but you're involved in it, right, Vernice? And then to hear, feel it, Lois, feel it, let it let it do its thing, give it its say, and then let's replace it. So there's a holistic approach here to adversity, managing adversity on a personal basis. So I'd like to learn a little bit more about each of you. Who do you work with in general, and what do you do for them in your mission? And then we'll talk. And then if you want to share a story about how you got to this work, that would be great. So Vernice, do you want to share first?
Absolutely. So I currently work within the Salt Lake City School District. That is the organization that I'm embedded in, if you will, as a director of educational equity and access. But I also will consult with other pre-K 12 institutions and sometimes post pre-K 12 institutions on creating educational spaces that are, if you will, more welcoming and foster a sense of belonging for what we call traditionally marginalized communities. And so that's not easy to do. I had a principal approach me yesterday and say, my teachers are very well intentioned. They care about kids, but yet they will still point out Black boys. So like, why are they doing that? And so I had to have a really quick hallway conversation, and that's not how equity work is most effective. But I was saying to her, you have to look at the historic criminalization of the Black male body and how that is within all of us at an unconscious level. And until we tap into that, we could be very well intentioned, but that's still a part of how we're showing up in the world. And she said she needed to sit with it for a minute. So that's the kind of work that I do, just coming in, planting those seeds of, if you want to change the environment, whether it's for Black boys, your refugee students, your non-English speakers or second language learners, remember the context. Remember you didn't create it, but you are perpetuating it. We all do. And how can you interrupt? Because that's the important piece for me. How do we interrupt these systems that are really great at self-perpetuating and marginalizing and oppression?
What is your hope for that teacher to do that said she would sit with it?
For that principal,
Yeah, the principal.
my hope is that she becomes a leader that could then sit with the teachers and guide them through that process of, you're not a bad person. You are not a racist person, but you are in this, what I constantly call a white normative environment that is not set up for communities of color. So how can you, as a teacher, disrupt the white normative environment and be more inclusive of these communities of color? That's really my hope, that I can help all leaders then lead their staff members to create those environments.
Yeah, open, non-judgmental conversations geared toward a solution of equanimity. Is that what we're calling it? Yeah, great. Thank you for the beautiful work you do. How did you get into this?
Well, quite honestly, I became an educator because of the experiences that my younger sisters were having. So my parents essentially had two families, and there's a 20-year gap between myself and my youngest sibling. And so when I saw her enter the school system and experience the same subtractive experiences that I had had in the 70s, and she was born in the 90s, I thought this is completely unacceptable. So I became an educator and very equity focused because of my siblings, but then it opened up my eyes. Like, it's not just my siblings, it's all these kids. And really right now, my passion and my why are my 4 nephews and my 2 nieces. Like, they cannot, because now we're in 2020. So every 20 years, it keeps reinforcing, like, no, this has got to end. So that's how I got into this.
It's personal. That's great. Thank you for the work again. And Lois, I'd like to learn more about you too now, and your role, what you do, who you do it for, and then a story of how you got here.
Okay, well, I work with people who faced any kind of life or business challenge or adversity. So initially, I used to focus on business challenges because I'm essentially a businesswoman. But of late, I've been focusing more on the personal and life challenges. And so I work with people who are not managing or handling change. So Verenice is talking about disrupting the environment. I'm talking about disrupting your own personal environment. And so I work with people who are battling to accept the change that's happening in their life that is not of their doing. So it could be things from people who've lost their jobs, they've been retrenched, to having faced some kind of accident and they've been badly injured, death of a loved one even, some kind of assault or robbery. So any kind of challenge that has been really, really difficult to face and they're not coping with it. So I work with people in that realm. And what else do you want to know?
That's really deep work. I mean, it's hard to work with people with such challenges. Where do you start with them?
Well, I've created, first of all, I've created an A to Z of managing adversity. So and I've also got a 5-step program that I use. So the A to Z, it's really taking every letter of the alphabet and finding some kind of a solution. So, for example, C could be developing compassion. So we work through it, and we work through each of the steps, and we help people find those solutions.
And do you have, I'd love to hear your story and as an example of how you help somebody.
Okay. Well, my story is all those adversities I've mentioned, I've experienced them all. So I lost a business. I was betrayed by my business partner and I lost the business. I was divorced. I was forced into early retirement. But the big thing that really changed my life is I was attacked, raped, and left for dead. And I, I went about it in a very strange way. I got so angry, I wanted to change the world. And I went around lobbying and leading marches and having petitions written to change the world. And that backfired in some way because 2 years later, I had psychosomatic problems as a result of that. I landed up in hospital with back problems that never healed until I dealt with it at a psychological level. And so it really just made me realize that there's ways of overcoming this adversity. There are steps that you can take. And it's not a smooth journey. It is, as Verenice said, it's very messy. And it goes up and down and around. And one day you're happy and the next day you're sad. And so you have to realize, the first thing is to realize that it is a journey. There are ups and downs and bad bends and the roadblocks and all kinds of things that come in your way, and you will reach a point where you feel you're okay, and then something triggers you and you go right back and you start all over again. So it is a journey. The healing is there, and that is the beautiful part of it. The healing is there if you know what to do. And just to share, I'm running a summit on rape and resilience. It launches on the 23rd of March, where I've got 40 speakers speaking around how you overcome this adversity.
Beautiful, beautiful work that you do to heal and also to not perpetuate the problem. Both of you are trying to stop a systemic problem that is really causing a lot of adversity in people's lives. So thank you for bringing these to light. Thank you for doing the work yourselves and being the role models yourselves. And here at Women Speakers Association, we have amazing women like you. That's what we want to do, is help spread the message. We do that with this TV show. I'd like to know from each of you what value you've received from Women Speakers Association or hoping to receive or hear, why you here. So Verenice, maybe you can share.
Absolutely. So I came across Women Speakers Association on social media, and I was kind of a silent observer, if you will, for about a year. And then I saw the opportunity to be an author for the Voices book that's going to be coming out in May. And I thought, if I really want to change the world, I can't continue to be a bystander and stand on the sidelines. I need to step out. I need to take the risk and join the women, because you're right. There are a lot of powerful women that are part of this network that are making a difference. And so my hope is that I can connect with these women and learn from them and continue to grow, and not just in my network, but as a person, so that I can be more effective in doing this work.
It's a beautiful thing. Well, that's what we're doing right here with the two of you. You've just gotten to connect. The three of
Yes.
us actually have gotten to connect. And we do this every week on our calls. We have virtual Zoom calls and different ways to connect and trainings as well. So Lois, also, I'd love to hear from you the value that Women Speakers Association has been.
Can I just say ditto to everything Verenice said? I'm also an author in Voices, so I'm excited about that. I was living in the Middle East for 11 years, and I came back to South Africa, and I was known in the Middle East. And I came back to South Africa and realized that nobody knew me. And so I needed to create visibility. And the Women Speakers Association is affording me that opportunity to be seen, to be heard, and to get my voice out there.
Yes, we've had women get keynote speeches right after being published, and you do become a best-selling author by being a part of our collaboration and the books that we do put out. So that's at wsapublishing.com. If you want to learn more about Women Speakers Association, how to join and be supported in putting your message out there in the world, and get seen, get booked, get paid. We have resources for that. We have a community of sisters who help each other through that. Go to joinwsa.com today. And we're here almost every Thursday with an episode showcasing our premier women members and or our upcoming speaker success roundtables, speaker success training and results roundtables that all premier members get. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email support at womenspeakersassociation.com. And thank you again, Verenice and Lois, for an extraordinary sharing of wisdom of how to manage adversity in systemic problem and systemic issue with systemic issues going on every day. And you're heroes, heroines in my mind. And thank you again. We will be back next time. Bye.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.